Takes Radio Company. I'm Stan Hustad, and we bring you another one of our favorite adventures. This is Raising Living Encores for a new generation of leaders for the Stanley Jones legacy. Please join us. Greetings, my many friends who are admirers of and followers in many ways of the work, the man, the mystery, a bit of the legend of Stanley Jones. As I pointed out in many of the past productions I've done, I believe that Stanley Hustad, when he was born a number of years ago, actually got his name because his father had written a dissertation about an evangelist named Stanley Jones, E. Stanley Jones. I don't know that for sure, but it seems, because of the things I found in my father's seminary work, and particularly in his dissertation. And then when I asked my mother one time why I was named Stanley, I wasn't particularly happy with the name. She said, "I don't know, but your father liked that name, so sure." Well, I usually go by Stan, or Stash, which is kind of a nickname given to me by my Polish friends. But in a way, I am trying to preserve in many ways that I can all of the wisdom, insight, and truth that I learned, first of all, as a radio broadcast missionary. The work of Stanley Jones turned out to be some of the best kinds of counsel and advice that I got, not only in being a missionary, but a radio missionary. And so that's part of my heritage. I also then went into a life of being a business performance coach, not necessarily just to Christian businesses and organizations. I did that, but it was primarily in the real marketplace of the real world of all kinds of clients and customers. And I was quite successful in helping them to build a better business, or as they would say, help me make more money, get greater customers, and all of the things that go into making a successful business. I think I did that well and still do in many ways. But guess what? A lot of the things I learned about human nature and how to communicate and how to help businesses, I learned from going back and reading my old copies of Stanley Jones. And of course now, thanks to Ann Matthews Eunice, the granddaughter of Stanley Jones, through the E. Stanley Jones Foundation, we have now just about completed the task of taking all of those works of wisdom, insight, and truth, the way, power and poise, transformed life, Christian maturity, abundant living. It goes on, 27, 28 of them. And particularly, the biography, kind of yes, and the Song of Ascents, all of them have now been updated and made more available. And hopefully we're going to also get them into audio and video so that the modern generation that obviously likes not just reading, but perhaps more than that, they like to listen and see and experience. And so our mission is not to help people go off on a retreat. That's fine. Not to go off to a seminary and learn more about the theology. Not to find ways to incorporate things into some denominational doctrine or point of view, but to do what Stanley Jones was all about, and that was to go, boldly go where few could go before, and that was to go into India and to make himself a man of India and to tell the story of Jesus and share the godly wisdom that Jesus brings to us, and to get people to surrender their lives to the King of the universe and perhaps create a small part of God's kingdom right here on planet Earth, in places and spaces, until the greater kingdom is fully with us when the man, Jesus, comes again. So We are in the business right now of trying to raise revenue. Spoiler alert, Ann and I are seeking to find ways to raise up younger men and women. There we go. Raising up living encores, not just an encore book or an encore song or an encore video or a repeat of a program that Stanley Jones has done, but living encores. Men and women, young men and women of power, poise, personality, of lives that are surrendered, and they are eager to be not just missionaries, but perhaps even to be men and women who live in the marketplace and make their mark in the marketplace, but at the same time, they are also living encores, doing teaching, doing facilitation, doing workshops, witnessing to the very truths that they know came from, in many ways, ancestral people that they knew or they have who were also influenced by Stanley Jones and continue to honor his tradition and want to share his wisdom. So that's what this is all about. We're going to continue to do this, and we're going to continue to ask you to be a part of the mission that we do. We would love for you to join us as what we call a founding friend. Yeah, in your giving, in your prayer, in your recommending to this whole idea of having living encores, a whole cadre of them throughout India and throughout the many people who are in the Indian diaspora, and there are millions of them. As I said, right here in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, many talented young men and women, many of them Christians, who want to learn how they could be living encores of Stanley Jones. So that's our work, and we would be grateful. Go to the Stanley Jones Foundation, eStanleyJonesFoundation.org, eStanleyJonesFoundation.org, and make a contribution to raising living encores, and at the same time, pray for some of the people we've already found and selected who your funds, your gifts, your support will help begin the work of this core of encores who will be a new generation for the Stanley Jones legacy. Please join me in that effort and recommend us to others and be a part. As I oftentimes say to people my age and stage, okay, good for you. You made it. Now, our full and first responsibility is not to our own well-being as much as it is to the raising up of young men and women, oftentimes maybe a generation or two or three younger than we are, who will carry forward the truth and the power and the kingdom strategies that make life worth living and to make it living well now and forever. Thank you for giving. Thank you for praying. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part of raising up living encores here on the Stanley Jones Radio School. All the best and blessings. Hope to hear from you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at stan@witradio.net. I'll be happy to give a presentation, talk to you, and begin to introduce you to some of my young Indian friends who will be a part of the work that we do. Take care. All the best. Bye for now.